Welcome to Using Your Teacher Voice, episode 20. It's hard to believe that I'm already up to 20 now. That's got to be something for me, right? Today I want to talk about digital citizenship. As you know, this is an area of passion of mine. This is an area that I do like working with and talking about. It's very important in today's digital society, digital community that we live in. It's very important. Something happened last week or so on my Facebook feed that really kind of got me thinking. When it comes to digital citizenship, one of the things that, one of the rules that I promote is that to be a good citizen in the digital world, you need to leave the digital world better than you found it. It's kind of like the old, old saying at the national parks, don't litter. And if you see litter, pick it up. So you do good, and then you also police the area around you. Now, for us in the digital world, living in the digital world, being a community, a member of that community, that starts with, putting up good content, providing good content, creating good content, putting things up that are meaningful, are useful, are valuable, are worthwhile. Now, granted, pictures of your grandkids aren't necessarily, amazing to everybody, but they're not harmful or destructive things. So we're making the world, the digital world a little better. And then we police our area. When we see things that are harmful, destructive, or dangerous, we do things to make sure that it stays there, where it's at and doesn't spread. We clean it up. Now, we obviously can't get rid of bad content on the internet, and our limited capabilities. We can't get rid of stuff. But we definitely can make sure that it doesn't spread. And for us, realistically, a lot of that means that we don't go off and share things that don't meet our values and our standards. It doesn't make the world a better place. The incident that happened like 3 times on my Facebook feed last week, and it was the same story. 2 of the people that shared it, and it popped up on my timeline from 2 people, I know they know each other, so it wasn't that surprising that it came up from them. I've seen that happen before with them. A third one, though, was somebody different, and again, it wasn't a shock that they put it up there, because I know their political views and stuff, but it was a shock about how and why they put it up there. It was a picture. It was a Facebook post. It's one of these, kind of news site things that they share that, people can share online. And it was about a Donald Trump rally in which he had the crowd pledge allegiance to him. And there was a picture of a rally. It was taken from the back of the room. The picture was taken over the heads of the rally members. You could see Trump in the background. And everybody's raising their right hand, and it almost looked like they were leaning forward a little bit, like their hands were leaning forward a little bit. And the headline, so there's this big picture, and the headline is, Trump demands rally, pledge allegiance to him, something along those lines. And if you click on the story, and you look down there, there's a link, and it looked like, okay, well, what's the story about? You click on it, and the story talked about how Trump was making all these people pledge allegiance to him by having them hold up their right hand and make a pledge in a very Nazi-esque kind of way. There were Sieg Heil references and Nazi references and Germany references and 1940s references and World War II references. It was this very anti-Trump, very biased story. Now, I bring this up as an example because I'm not trying to say, go Trump or not go Trump or not advocating any person. That's not what I'm trying to do here. But this is a great example of how to act online. When I saw this picture, I was like, whoa, what? That's crazy. And then I went to the site. And there were so many red flags on here. That had me worried. And I started doing a little digging into this. The site, when you clicked on it, obviously had a very biased tone. So right there, I was skeptical. And I think that's something that we should be teaching our students. that if you come across a news story or an article that is very one-sided, leans very much one direction, you need to question that story. Our students need to know that. That's a valuable life skill, not just in researching, but in anything that we do in our post-academic lives, in the real world or on digital. And I started looking around on this. The web address was a very news-sounding address, but it wasn't a news site. It was basically a clickbait site where you get there and there's all these, kind of random, salacious stories. They're just incredible stories. You click on it and, they're like 18 pictures. The photographer took at just the right moment. And it's kind of got this oddly cropped picture that you wonder if it's going to be something not okay, something a little dirty, something a little... And all these, like 5 foods you should never eat if you're wanting to lose weight. And the Queen of England says blank. And what it was is, so again, the story was very biased. Then the source, it was very, it was obviously not a news source. That had these people who had posted this site taking a look at the website itself, were like, okay, what's wrong? What news source is this? What makes this a valid source? And then I just took the picture. I downloaded, now I was looking at the picture, and I couldn't find it. I could not find that picture. I Google searched that picture. I couldn't find it. I was searching, I did the normal, kind of Trump rally pledge, Facebook, Trump rally pledge, Nazi. I found lots of pictures that looked like it, but it wasn't this picture. I could not find it anywhere. And that should be a red flag, that, if this was a legitimate news story, it should have been everywhere, right? Now, here's the problem with this story. And what makes this dangerous. Trump does this. This is something that Trump does. Now, he does ask people to pledge to vote for him. He goes, who's here is going to pledge for me? Who's going to pledge to vote for me? I want you all right now to pledge for me. And there have been, raise your hand and say that you will vote for me. Raise your hand and pledge that you will vote for me. He has had these at these rallies. But the way the picture was taken and the context in which it was presented made it seem totally different. And that's what makes this posting very dangerous and requires a lot of finesse. And it's because there was truth in this story. That at some level, the basis of the story was true. But somebody wanted to make a very particular point and spun it and twisted it and embellished it in a way to make it seem something totally different. It's misrepresented in many different ways. And again, I'm not trying to advocate for or against Trump, but it's an example of how our digital lives are and what we need to do to be careful. So, the people that have been posting these on my Facebook, or they popped up on my timeline as sharing this story and liking this story. It's important to know that, when you see things like that, sharing things that are good, are worthwhile or useful. Now, I don't have to agree with the information, but I do have to say this is legitimate. That there was some value to that there was some validity to it. Again, I don't have to believe it. I can argue the point, but that the source is good. So that was my first thing that I thought about when it came to this article. But then there was another thing that really kind of got me thinking on this. One of the people that had reshared it, so it popped up on my timeline through them, had a comment that really bothered me. I don't know if this is true, but if it is, it's disgusting, or something along those lines. I don't know if it's true, but why would you share something if you didn't know it was true? Why would this be something that you would put out there? It would be very equivalent to telling, when I was talking about this with my students the other day, the example I used is that if you went to the teacher and said, I don't have any proof, but Johnny's cheating on the test, how could you ever repost that? Knowing, or not knowing, I guess I should say, not knowing if it's true or not, if it's good or not, if it's valuable or not, if it's reliable or not. That's very dangerous. That's very dangerous. It sets a bad example for our students. And it doesn't, it's like walking by and going, oh my God, there's litter. And then you just keep going. Okay? Like the national park reference. That was the part that really bothered me. It was interesting, though, that when I went to Snopes.com, and if you ever have a question about something you see online, Snopes is a great place to take a look and see, what's going on with this. On Snopes, and they had different variations of it. They start with, the headline. They start with what the article is and different variations of it. There were several variations that had something similar to that statement. I don't know if this is true. If this is true, what are we going to do if this is really happening? So, again, the person that I knew that had reshared this, was using that kind of language, had obviously read that on someone else's. I don't know if this is true. But how many times in a row do you have to see these things before you have to stop and wonder, okay, I got to look at this, and really, is this true or not? So again, digital citizenship is very important. It is a real-world skill that our students need, both in the digital world and the real world. It's very important to be able to look at things, to know this is good or bad or right or wrong. It's a very important skill. This is something that they need to know, and that we as the adult educators should be promoting.